because I'm going to tell a story based on the play from last week. So I want you to sit here and face me so that we can film this and get your pictures too. Oh, a little closer. Come on. There you go. I want to be able to see you. This is loosely based on the Word became flesh and tented among us, full of grace and truth. You have to remember those words. It says in John 1:14 that Jesus dwelt among us, but the Greek word means tented. So Jesus tented with us, full of grace and truth. So welcome. Good to see you. I have a story for you. I liked last week's Christmas pageant so much that I thought I would tell you another story about the king and queen and princess of quite a lot. How many of you heard that story? A couple of you, good. Once upon a time, in a far, far away kingdom of quite a lot, a pretty palace sat on a little hill. And below the palace, there was a little village in the woods. The king and queen and princess of quite a lot were pretty nice. And the people who lived in the village were pretty nice too. Mind you, living all by themselves on the top of the hill, the king and the queen and the princess were sometimes also a little bit lonely. And the people who lived in the village were a little bit sad that they didn't get to see the king and the queen and the princess more often. It was quite a long hike to the palace at the top of the hill. Anyway, that's how it was in the kingdom of quite a lot. Now, things were going along pretty well until one year, 2 days before Christmas, a great white blizzard fell upon the kingdom. Hour after hour, the snow fell. Soon it was up to their knees. And after 2 hours, the snow was up to their thighs. And after 3 hours, the snow was up to their middle. And by Christmas Eve, the snow had covered every single little house in the village right up to the tippy top of their chimneys. And then this is really sad. Then what happened is this. Suddenly, the weather warmed just like it is in Toronto, and all the snow melted. It melted so fast that the village was soon sinking into a great puddle of water. The water, it came right up to everyone's door. And then the water flowed right into the kitchen, right over all the living room furniture, and finally there was so much water that it flowed back out of the bedroom windows. Everyone and everything in the village of quite a lot was very, very wet. Now, the king of quite a lot felt very bad about this. His palace was, you remember, on the top of the hill. So even though the king of quite a lot and the queen of quite a lot and the princess were sometimes lonely sitting at the top of the hill, they were also high and dry, even though the villagers were all as wet as the goldfish sitting outside of Michael's office. What to do? Well, the princess of quite a lot had a great idea. She said, "Why don't all the women and children come to live with us in the palace until the water goes away? I think there's just enough room. And then the men, they can live in tents just outside of the gates to the palace until the water goes away." The princess of quite a lot thought it would be fun to have her friend Judy come to live with her in the palace. And so that's what they did. All the village people waded and they swam and they rowed over from the village to the palace, to the bottom of the palace. The women and the children moved into the palace. But the only way to make all those people fit into the palace was for the king and the queen to give up their bed. So after thinking about it for a while, the king decided that he too would set up a tent with the men living just outside the gate until the water went away. And suddenly, the queen wasn't so lonely. She had high tea every afternoon with the ladies from Group B. And the princess wasn't lonely anymore either, because her best friend Judy was living in the palace with her. And the king, of quite a lot, wasn't lonely either, because he was getting to know all the men who lived in the village. And that is how it is that on Christmas Day, the king became just another man, and he tented with his people. And everyone in the village said the king of quite a lot was, after all, a very gracious king. And that's the truth. Gracious means very, very nice. So that's the story I wanted to tell you. And now you can go to the Christmas party. And if you're still sitting in the seats and you want to join our children or youth at the Christmas party, you're welcome to